I'm having a baby. I really felt like I had to start the video off that way because like it's literally in the title, so you already know. It's not like I'm going to ease into that information. So yes, Dylan and I are going to be parents and we are so excited. I have been waiting to make this video. Honestly, it has been a long awaited video and I have missed YouTube so much. Like, I wanted to get back to vlogging so much, but my life has just not been the same for the past few months. We hadn't fully announced the pregnancy yet, so you know, life looks a little bit different, especially in that first trimester. But yeah, the last few months have literally consisted of me like being on the couch and feeling sick. So not a lot of fun YouTube content, and I did not film a lot of it because my head was just not there. But I wanted to make this video to share our story with you guys of how we found out that we were pregnant and how we told our family, show you some of the reactions, and also just update you on what the first trimester looked like for me because before I got pregnant, I was already obsessed with watching pregnancy content and preparing myself for what that would be like. And I'm hoping that if you are preparing to have a baby or just curious about pregnancy at all or curious about what's going on in our lives, hopefully I can give you some details and some information. And I want to preface this by saying that every pregnancy is different, so your story may not be like mine, and my first trimester was rough. That's not to say that your first trimester will be rough. Some people have nausea, some people don't. All of the symptoms are like up in the air, you know, everybody's different, depends on a lot of different factors. So wanted to preface by saying that this isn't meant to scare anybody, and I'm feeling much better in my second trimester than I was in the first trimester. Moving along, how did we find out? When did we find out? So I technically got pregnant about halfway through November, I think it was. Yeah, about halfway through November. We found out on December 10th. So I'm filming this on February 27th. It'll probably be out within the next week. See, I'm always out of breath now. That's like one thing with pregnancy. Like, it's been consistent. If you see me looking down, I have like notes that I've taken throughout my pregnancy. So on December 8th was when I was definitely like knowing that my period was kind of late, and I was like, I could be pregnant. That's a very real possibility. And I do want to be fully transparent that this pregnancy was unexpected. It was a little sooner than we thought we were going to have kids, but Dylan and I fully did intend on getting married and having children together. We've had those conversations. We literally had names picked out before any of this happened. So we planned on having babies together. We just thought that marriage was gonna come first and then we were gonna start trying for kids, and God had other plans and this happened for us. So, you know, everything happens for a reason, and although it was a little sooner than planned, it was not unwanted by any means. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but I can blame that on pregnancy brain now. But we also, like, I had been very concerned with my fertility because my mom had issues with her fertility as well as my grandma on my dad's side. So the women immediate to me on both sides of my family were told around age 25 that they couldn't have any more children. And I'm 26 going on 27. So I was a little bit nervous these last couple of years about my fertility, and I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and I was so scared that I was running out of time and that my genetics were not on my side. And I felt like that kind of put a lot of pressure on Dylan in our relationship because I was just like so intent on having kids as soon as possible. And it was kind of like rushing things in our relationship. I reached a certain point sometime after I turned 25 that I just surrendered it. Of course, I still had that desire to be a mom, but I kind of let go of the desperate energy around it. And I accepted that when this is meant to happen, it will happen how it's meant to. And I fully just surrendered it and trusted it and just decided to prepare as best we could, take care of our fertility as best we could, and you know, be patient in the process. And when it was meant to happen, it would. And it was literally like I surrendered it and then I got pregnant. You know, I hope that resonates with somebody. Like, anything that we're like chasing too much or clinging on to too much tends to move further away from us. That's just law of attraction. So surrender it, trust in God, the universe, whatever you believe in, and trust that everything is happening in the timing that it's meant to. Back to our timeline. I was supposed to get my period between November 30th and December 3rd. So by the time the 8th came around, I was like, okay, I'm definitely late now. And that day I was supposed to work at my bartending job, which I'm no longer working, and I had put in my notice before I found out I was pregnant, so it just kind of worked out that I was done working there when we found out that I was pregnant. So I worked that day. I threw up that morning and I was like, oh, of course it crossed our minds that I could be pregnant, but I kind of thought like maybe I just have a stomach bug or something. I tried to get ready for work. I got nauseous again in the shower. I went to work and I still felt sick like all day. And the only thing that sounded appetizing to me was Cheez-Its that one of our regulars brought in. And I really don't eat Cheez-Its, but it's all I could munch on all day. So that was kind of like first clue, like, okay, probably pregnant. And I started having a lot of low back pain at that time too. On December 9th, the next day, which was a Monday, I was also still having a lot of low back pain. I had some nausea and my boobs started to hurt so bad, like not like PMS period hurt, but like unreal. It hurt to lay on them. It hurt to move. It hurt to lay on my side, like really bad, like literally bruises on my chest. I was like, what is happening? Then on Tuesday, December 10th, I woke up and my boobs hurt so bad and I was so nauseous, and I thought, okay, it's been 3 days in a row. I'm gonna go take a pregnancy test. I have the little strip test that you just dip in your urine and they show you 2 lines on them. It's not like the plastic stick pregnancy tests. The strip tests are cheaper on Amazon, so I had those. And I've taken them before and like they've always been negative before. So I kind of like wasn't anticipating to see a positive result right away, even if I was pregnant, because I know a lot of times you could test too early or, you know, it might take a couple times, but I did it first thing in the morning, which is the best time to do it. And literally as I dipped the test strip, it was like, bam, bam, 2 pink lines. Very pregnant. And my heart started going so fast, and I would have loved to create some cute little announcement thing for Dylan, but that was just not an option. There was no way I could have like gone about our morning and not said anything. So I immediately like ran into the bedroom, started hitting him, and I was like, you have to wake up right now. Like, you gotta wake up. And he woke up, looked at what was in my hand, and he was like, are you pregnant? And I'm like, yeah. And then he just hugged me. Both our hearts were going so fast. And it was just that moment where we were both like, okay, we're doing this. Like, our lives are about to change. And like, we were happy, you know, like, oh my God, we're gonna be parents. But like I said, it was a little sooner than expected. So we were like, whoa. I think for the first hour, we just like sat in the living room, like in shock, processing everything. It's a lot to process when you find out, no matter if it's planned or not, just the fact that you're having a child, for me, knowing my body's gonna start changing, everything's just gonna change. So it's a lot to process. So we went through all the emotions. The funny part was that day we had the Secret Santa party where I worked, and it's a lot of our close friends and family at the place that I worked. So we had to go to that party that night and not tell anybody, and that was hard. Fortunately, I don't really drink to begin with, so nobody really thought anything of it that I didn't drink that night. That day I still had a lot of back pain. I was extremely tired. The fatigue started hitting hard, and that did not go away for the whole entire first trimester. I was really specific with my symptoms for like the first week or two probably, and then I kind of condensed it into weeks after that. December 11th, so the next day, I noticed I was waking up in the middle of the night to go pee a lot. I was tossing and turning, just feeling uncomfortable either from the nausea or my boobs hurting. And I tried to make bone broth, and I immediately got super nauseous from it. Like, the smell of it, immediately I was like, no, absolutely not. So I was only able to sip on water and crackers. I was feeling very cold. I called and scheduled my first appointment, because that's a whole other story of our medical care that we've decided on. But at first I was just like, well, I need to go see somebody. I need to go to an appointment, right, to make sure baby's okay. So I called and made an appointment. The first person that I heard a congratulations from, other than Dylan, was the office worker. It was the first time I said out loud to somebody else, like, I'm pregnant. After that phone call, I literally cried happy tears, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. And then I told one of my best friends that night, because I was just struggling with first trimester things, and I was like, I need to talk to a girl who has been through this. The next day, I went to the gym where I was working out and also teaching yoga at, which I'm also no longer doing. And I told my workout instructor, because I needed to start like changing what my workouts looked like, and I felt that, you know, she needed to be in on that. So we started taking it easy during workouts. I noticed that I got a little bit more fatigued and nauseous during my workouts that week before I found out I was pregnant, and then afterwards I was like, oh, that makes sense. I forgot to mention this, when I tested, I was already 5.5 weeks along, because I waited so long after my period or when I was supposed to have my period, to take the test. So I was already almost 6 weeks. On December 13th, I was officially 6 weeks. I told another one of my friends, and the mood swings were starting to hit at this point, big time. I was an emotional person before I got pregnant, and I've definitely been emotional since. I started taking naps at this point, which I'm still taking naps, and I started snacking a lot. I also noted that I started having chest pains, which I think were just like acid reflux or heartburn, but I really never had that too bad before, so I feel like I didn't know what it was. I started feeling kind of crampy. I was sleepy all the time. Like I said, the fatigue was just crazy. Like, it's a different kind of tired. Like, it's like you ran a marathon every single day, nonstop. You wake up tired. My belly was just kind of uneasy, struggling with heartburn. I just wanted to lay around and do nothing. That was pretty consistent through the entire first trimester. And I was so cold. I think I just had poor circulation. This is something that I feel needs talked about, because I was not really prepared for it. And now, since being pregnant, I've heard more people talk about it, but apologies to any of the men who are watching, but it is what it is. I started having a lot of extra discharge, and I did not know that was a thing. And I've since learned that it is a very normal thing. So if you're trying to get pregnant, just know that's something that happens. You just have a lot more fluid down there, and it was a little surprising at first. It's still a little surprising every single time it happens. I was noticeably more tired and emotional. I was still having to hide it from my family at that point. I saw my grandma 4 times before we announced that we were pregnant to our family. We were waiting until Christmas. Literally had to wait 15 days from when we found out till we told our immediate families. And I saw my grandma 4 times, and my grandma is like the second mom in my life, but it was just really hard to not tell my grandma. She wanted to take me shopping and wanted to like buy me stuff, and I knew that my body was going to be changing, so that was difficult navigating that. We also went out to dinner and I was kind of like weird about how I was eating. So yeah, that was just an interesting time. It was really frustrating because I tell her everything and I just couldn't. This was also the same week that I noticed pregnancy dreams started to happen. Like, just the vivid dreams are insane. Still having those, which I didn't even mention. I'm so sorry, I'm all over the place. I am 16 weeks, well, I'll be 17 weeks tomorrow. So yeah, pretty far along. I'm in my second trimester now, and the pregnancy dreams have not stopped. I told a couple other people at this point that were like immediate to me in my business, and this is when it started that I could not brush my teeth or floss without gagging. That is still a struggle. So December 20th, I was in week 7. I was waking up a lot throughout the night, which I still do. I told a couple other friends, and again, I did not want to do anything, so that was all pretty consistent. I'll insert some pictures of like what I was Snapchatting my close friends during this time because some of them are kind of funny. I was definitely snacking a lot at this time. So yeah, pretty much a lot of the same symptoms during week 7. Week 8, I was feeling sick pretty much every single day. I went to buy a new bra because I had already gone up a cup size. It just hurt when anything would touch my boobs. Like, if the fabric was not soft enough, it hurt. If anything was too tight, it hurt. It was just a lot to deal with. I was eating a lot of sugar at this time, and I noticed that I was starting to become out of breath all of the time as well. And at this point, I started having some anxiety. I had a panic attack and just noticed my emotions were a lot higher than normal. I also worked my last day at my bartending job at this point, which was really full circle because I met Dylan through that place and we worked together in the beer trailer there, and I decided to do my last day outside in the beer trailer, kind of just like as a full circle moment that here we are. We ended up here with me meeting him there and now having his baby in my belly. It was also during this week that Dylan and I bought our first nursery purchase. I'll include a little picture in here of that too. We kind of had ideas picked out for how we wanted the nursery to look, but that was just a big deal going and getting our first baby item together. Week 9, I officially was eating like a toddler all of the time, and I don't think for the rest of the first trimester until like week 14, I cooked or baked at all. It pretty much was like buttered noodles, buttered toast, muffins, granola. I couldn't have any foods that had like complex flavors or smells. Standing in the kitchen trying to make anything was also so exhausting for me. So like it was literally buying frozen chicken nuggets, popping them in the air fryer, and getting down whatever I could. I noticed my belly started looking a little bit different at this point. I was learning how to eat a little bit better, or like navigate the food aversions better. I started doing yoga in the morning to help with the morning sickness, which it did. This is when I started getting really specific cravings as well. Like I would really want chicken nuggets or breakfast sandwiches. Breakfast sandwiches with bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel were like my main craving food for several weeks. We also had our first appointment and got to see the baby's heart beating together. So that was really special and really cool. That was definitely like a core memory of this pregnancy. Okay, the lighting and the angle have probably changed. It is a little bit later in the day. I had to stop filming. I had a business call to take care of and we ended up chatting for quite a while. I kind of needed to like step away from this for a second anyway because I realized I got ahead of myself going through the weekly symptoms, and I forgot to tell you guys about how we told our families on Christmas. So back it up, back to what week was I pregnant when we told the families? Still in week 7, technically. We got ornaments made for our family members. So we got ornaments made for my dad and his girlfriend, for Dylan's parents, for Dylan's sister and her boyfriend, for my grandma and my step-grandpa, and then my grandpa and his girlfriend. My mom and brother and sister all live in Arizona, so I didn't get them ornaments. I called them and told them. So the way that my family celebrates Christmas is on Christmas Eve, we do a get-together with my step-grandpa's family, and that's just how it's been since I was born. So we got together with them. So my dad and his girlfriend were there, my grandparents were there, and we were not going to tell them until Christmas Day when we were alone with them. We didn't want to tell the whole entire family all together. So we had to hide it that night at our Christmas party on Christmas Eve, and I was like pounding down food. Dylan was like, I can't believe nobody noticed that you were just like pounding down those pepperoni rolls, because I don't usually eat normal bread, like gluten. And I was just eating nonstop, and we didn't drink anything. My dad did catch on that I didn't have a drink or any like pudding shots or anything, but he didn't say anything, but he kind of noticed. And Christmas Eve that morning, I was feeling nauseous, so I was just like worried about being around family and stuff. Also, I'm really jumping all over the place here. On Christmas Eve as well, earlier that day, we told our friends Adam and Julia, they have a 7-month-old baby, so they are also new parents, and we told them because we had to miss their Christmas Eve party to go to my family's Christmas Eve party. So that was just fun, telling them and having some support from other new parents. So Christmas morning, the big day when we told everybody, and I'm gonna include some reaction videos in here too, as long as everyone's okay with me sharing them. So Christmas morning, I was struggling with the morning sickness, and we had a lot of running to do, and I was stressed because I was not feeling good. And I was like, they're gonna know I'm pregnant because I'm gonna walk in the door and have to go throw up. First, we started out the day at my grandpa's house, and we told him and his girlfriend, and they were so excited. We gave them the ornament. We do not have their reaction video, but they read it, and it was kind of like a slow process. At first they read it, and then my grandpa looked at me and he's like, you're pregnant. By the way, the ornaments said like, Merry Christmas, great grandma and great grandpa, see you in 2025. They were very excited for us. And then we headed over to my grandma's house for brunch, and it was my grandma and papa, and then my dad and his girlfriend. So we get there, and my grandma's like making mimosas for us, and I was like, let me get some food in my stomach and just see how I feel and before I have anything to drink. So I had breakfast, but I was struggling with the morning sickness. Like I almost threw up when we were pulling into their driveway, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna hide this. And we weren't gonna tell them until after we ate, when we were opening gifts and giving presents. So we get through our brunch, and I was doing good, feeling a little bit iffy, but I was doing okay. We went downstairs, we opened gifts and gave them their ornaments last after all of our other Christmas presents, and I will include the reaction videos of those. Dylan got my grandparents, and I got my dad and his girlfriend. My dad and his girlfriend got theirs open first, so Paula kind of started freaking out a little bit, and my dad was like, hush, and my grandparents were still opening theirs. So I will include the clips from that.
As soon as she said open it together, I'm like looking, and I'm looking at her, I'm like...
Grandma's taking too long.
Beth, you need to hurry.
You taped it, I didn't.
I just started, I'm like, Hurry up, Beth.
The dog's like, what?
I kind of had a sneaking suspicion where this was going.
Oh my god.
That's why you never feel good.
Or why I didn't drink last night or today.
Well, that's, you know what, Taylor? That's what tipped me off.
After that, we ended up back over at my grandpa's house with my dad for a while, hung out there, and then we headed to Dylan's parents' house to tell them. We ate dinner and everything was going good, and then we gave all our gifts. Again, we waited until after everybody had opened everything else and gave out the ornaments. and I will include the reaction videos from those. I think that was a really good reaction video. Dylan's mom was very excited for my parents, well, for my dad and for Dylan's parents. They're all like first time grandparents, so it is a lot of fun. She's like racing.
I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. Ah! Oh my god.
Really?
I did get to be a grandma.
Congratulations.
Oh my god. Oh my god. What the fuck, bro? Why am I crying? Because. Oh my god. Fucking knew it, bro. When? August. August. Oh my god.
And then we called my mom and brother and sister, who were all together for Christmas, and got to tell them. And it was a little hard getting a hold of them because my mom wasn't feeling well and she wanted to wait until she got home to call me. But she was at my sister's house with like all my nieces and nephews and my brother and everybody all together. And I was like, oh, you should FaceTime me while you're with everybody. And she did, and I was able to tell them all together, which was super fun. My brother and sister both do already have kids, and so I was the last one on that train of having kids. So yeah, super exciting. So that was how we told our families, and then we slowly kind of started telling close friends and family here and there as we felt necessary when it was the right time after that. The best, I think, was my best friend from high school, Danielle. We have been so close since like third grade. We were inseparable in high school, and we're less close than we used to be, but still like close, like she's a soul sister. And she texted me on Christmas Day and was like, when are you getting pregnant? I was like, why are you asking me that? I think I ignored her for most of the day. And I was like, why? What made you think of that? And she's like, I don't know. I just have this feeling that it's happening soon. And there's no way she could have known from anybody at this point. It was like hard to get in touch with her for a couple days, and I really wanted to tell her. And then she FaceTimes me a few days after Christmas, and she immediately, as soon as she answered, she goes, so when are you getting pregnant? And I said, why are you asking me that? And she's like, I don't know. I just have this feeling that it's happening sometime soon. I don't know why. It's just weird. And she's like, so are you pregnant? And I said, yeah. And she goes, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. And I so wish I had that recorded. But it was just a great moment. I don't know how she knew that. Super weird, super intimate connection between us, clearly. So yeah, she just knew. We hadn't even really been talking that much. There was like no way she could have known that I was pregnant. She just intuitively knew. So shout out to Danielle, because that is a real connection. Hi, this is me like 3 days after filming, but I just thought of another really funny story about when we told somebody that I was pregnant, when I told somebody that I was pregnant, and it was like the most chaotic situation that could have happened. So when I found out I was pregnant, I still hadn't told anybody at my job, at my bartending job. And at my bartending job, like, you gotta be like moving around kegs, like moving full kegs, and then definitely moving the empty kegs. Just like a lot of like heavy lifting, and it's just a little crazy, and like tasting the beers and things like that. You know, there's a lot of things with a bartending job that I'm like, I really need to tell somebody I'm pregnant. And I had my last day and nobody knew that I was pregnant. So I was working outside in the beer trailer that we have with my coworker. I tried to move a keg at one point. Also, it was like the busiest night like one of the busiest nights I'd ever seen there in 2 years of working there. Like, of course, like I was pregnant, first trimester, not feeling the best. There's people like smoking cigarettes out there in my face. And I was like, oh, this is great. So yeah, I was trying to hide it that I was pregnant. Also, I'm not naked. I feel like I look naked. I do have a sports bra on. I was just doing yoga. Okay, pregnancy brain, get on track. So it was a really busy night, and we were kicking a bunch of kegs, so I went back to change one, and I like tried to like shift a full keg across the floor, and I was like, no, like just trying to brace my core like that, it felt dangerous, it felt wrong. And then the next one that we had an empty keg, I went back to tell my coworker like, hey, I need you to help me change this keg. She's like, okay. She runs back there, and she's like, can you scooch that one across the floor over here? Now, this is something I've done a million times before. Like, we've changed kegs together a million times before. And she's like, can you pull that keg over here? And I was like, no. And she goes, she kind of looked at me like, what the hell, dude? You know? Because I was like, no. She's like, okay. And like starts moving the other keg. And I was like, Stacey, I'm going to tell you something that I haven't told anybody here yet, and you can't tell anybody. And she's like, okay. And like, we're in the middle of like a rush. Like, we have a line. We both have to jump out of line so we can go move this keg. It's chaos. She's like, what? And I'm like, I'm pregnant. And she's like bent down, like trying to move a full keg. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, why are you telling me this now? And I'm like, because I can't move the kegs. So the rest of the time we were like pouring beer, and she's like, I can't believe this. Like, when did this happen? Like, when did you find out? Like, oh my God, we have so much to talk about. And like, we had a huge line of people, so we didn't have any time to talk about it, and had to keep it like hush hush. But it was really nice because for the rest of the night, I had somebody who like had my back. Like, every time there was an empty keg, like she was going to do it. She moved the empty kegs at the end of the night when we had to take them all out of the trailer. Even like lifting heavy trash. Like, she was just looking out for me. So shout out Stacey, for, you know, keeping the secret and for handling that the way that you did. And we still crushed it that night. But it was just a really funny experience. And I just had to share that story because I just thought it was so great. So getting back to symptoms, I'm going to try to go a little quicker through the rest of these. So we were on week 10 before I got sidetracked. Week 10, I started being able to cook a little bit, but not a lot. I was throwing up more often at this point, like multiple times a day. I was feeling really tired. I was almost feeling depressed at this point between the winter, like seasonal depression, and also just not being able to do anything. I was getting really stressed out and like trying to go take care of my great aunt and go teach yoga classes. Everything was just way too much. And I was having a hard time mentally at this point. I was also eating a lot of junk food and sugar, which I'm sure was not helping. And my chiropractor did remind me, like, you're gonna need to get your protein up. It'll really help with all of these symptoms. Acne kind of started at this point because of the hormonal changes, and my bump was starting to show a little bit more. I also put pregnancy farts have begun. That's a real thing. And I was eating snack foods. I have this one picture I'll include that said, super cute how I thought I'd eat so healthy when I got pregnant, and now I just eat literally whatever sounds good and I can keep down. So I definitely had expectations of getting pregnant that I was like, I'm gonna be so healthy and do everything right. And you really eat what you can, especially in the first trimester. Here's another good one. When you just put on mascara and then throw up. I almost gave up on mascara for a while, quite frankly. Nothing like throwing up in bed and ordering bagels online. Is this the pregnancy glow everyone talks about? Some of my Snapchats were really great. All right, so we're on to week 11. Pretty much a lot of the same stuff. My digestion was suffering at this point. It felt like the morning sickness was still really bad. I was still eating like a toddler. I have this picture of pizza rolls and tater tots because that's what I could keep down. I was still struggling a lot mentally at this point. I was looking into therapy even, and just feeling pretty low a lot of days, still very sick. Then we get into week 12, and this was kind of my turning point. So I thought it was week 14, but I guess it was week 12. I got the stomach flu. The stomach flu is never fun, but while pregnant, it's scary, first of all, because you're just concerned, is baby okay? And it is just awful because of the dehydration and already having morning sickness. So we honestly thought that it started out as morning sickness, and like I was used to throwing up pretty much every morning and then just trying to like get on with my day. So Dylan and I planned to go to breakfast, and I threw up a couple times, and I was like, just let me pull myself together, we'll get out the door. So I did. We went to breakfast, and I could eat like 3 bites of my breakfast, and I was like, you need to take me home right now. I barely made it in the door and into the bathroom to throw up again, and I did not stop being sick all day. Couldn't keep anything down, not even water. I tried Pedialyte, I tried everything. Nothing would stay down. And he's like, do you think this is still morning sickness? And I'm like, no, I think it's more than morning sickness. Not fun. I was sick that entire day. I spent like 2 days kind of recovering and rehydrating, but that was definitely really scary. There was one point where I was throwing up and I felt a sharp pain down in here, and I started crying because I was just scared for the baby. But immediately after I got rehydrated, like 2 days after I was super sick, I woke up the next morning and I was like, I don't have any morning sickness. All the nausea went away. It was crazy. And I never had morning sickness again after that. And at first I was kind of like, is everything okay? Like, am I still pregnant? And baby's fine. Everything's good. I just went into my 2nd trimester and it worked out really nicely. So it was like the stomach flu like knocked everything out of me, and I didn't have morning sickness after that. So that was kind of cool. Week 12 was also when I started having to use the pregnancy pillow at the chiropractor. So that was a big moment where like my bump was starting to get big enough that I needed a pillow under my belly. And this was also the turning point where I started to get more energy. Like I started getting back to working my Arbonne business. I started like wanting to dance and stuff, and like just having a little bit more fun and enjoying life again. So it was like I suffered really bad for the first part of the week, and the second part of the week I was like, oh, life isn't so bad now. Week 14, we're in February at this point. I had my 2nd prenatal appointment. I put that I was not super impressed with the care. I kind of felt shamed because we opted to not get our first ultrasound, which was a 12-week ultrasound. And that was a decision that we researched together. We made that decision together, and I felt like I was kind of talked to, like I was stupid. I was just not impressed. Also, the one midwife was trying to talk to me about a vaccine that I was supposed to get after birth, while a student nurse was trying to listen to the baby's heartbeat. And like, as parents, the thing you're most excited for is listening to your baby's heartbeat at the appointments. So I was not listening to this lady talking about vaccines whatsoever. And I should have stopped her and said, can you give me this information after we listen to the baby's heartbeat? But I was stressed and overwhelmed, and like, clinical settings just stress me out and overstimulate me. So we were just not super impressed with how that appointment went. I came home and kind of had a panic attack because I felt so much stress and overwhelm about all of the decisions that needed to be made. And we had already started looking into different care. That really was like the turning point where I'm like, okay, we need to find somebody else. And I will probably talk about this more in depth in another video. But we did decide that we wanted to do a home birth. And I had decided that before I ever got pregnant. I have several friends who have done home births. I've been researching home births and listening to home birth experiences for probably the last 2 years, really doing my research, really educating myself on the options. And going forward, I would just like to say that anything I say about my pregnancy experience or my birth plan or my choices with my pregnancy and birth are never meant to shame anybody else for the choices that you make. It's just to simply educate on experiences, and I think trust your medical professionals, but also do your own research and know what options are available to you. I really am grateful to women who have shared their experiences online and helped me get an accurate assessment of what options are available to me from people outside of the medical world and hearing real experiences. So that's what I'm trying to offer. So I started getting weird pregnancy cravings also at this time, like pickles and peanut butter. I noticed my hips were getting looser, like when I was dancing. I put that lightning crotch had officially begun in week 12, which at this point I was starting to feel where the baby was. So for like 3 days straight, I could feel the baby over on my right side, and I thought it was gas at first, and then the longer that it lasted, I was like, I think the baby's just like hanging out over on that side. And I would always get these crampy feelings, but I didn't know what they were. I didn't know if it was gas. I didn't know if it was like my uterus expanding. Like there's just a lot going on and it's hard to tell what's what. And then that pressure on my right side moved into the center and was pushing like straight down like on my cervix. And I'm like, yeah, the baby's like on top of my cervix for sure, which is what they call lightning crotch, where it's just this downward pressure and it's like, please get off of that. I was having really bad cravings at this point too. I had like a meltdown the one day because Dylan didn't want to get me cheesy breadsticks that I wanted. The next day he made up for it by bringing me home some cheesy breadsticks, some ice cream, and some hot Cheetos. So he really came through on that one. That was pretty much the entire first trimester. And I put for week 15, this was when second trimester symptoms really started happening. My gums started bleeding a little bit when I would brush my teeth, which is a common symptom because of the increase of blood flow in your body. And congestion really started at this point, and it has not stopped, especially when I wake up in the morning. I'm so congested. And again, that's just like the blood vessels swelling. It was also at this point, we went out on a date for Valentine's Day and I tried to put on jeans and realized I'm done with jeans. And also during week 15, we officially secured our home birth midwife and we were super satisfied with the care that we were receiving from her, and started our care plan with her. She came over to our house and talked with us for 2 hours, really looked at my nutrition, looked at what prenatals I was taking, recommended supplements for me to start taking, like magnesium and beef liver. And she listened to the baby's heartbeat and we found out that I actually can feel the baby moving. I just didn't know. It's funny as I say that the baby just moved. Like as I said that, we could hear the baby roll over when she was listening with the Doppler. You could hear like the heartbeat move away and like the little shuffle of the baby moving. And she said, "Can you feel that?" And I was like, oh, you know what? I actually can. I just didn't know that's what that feeling was. Most of the time it doesn't hurt. It's just kind of like a little, ooh, hello, there you are. It's a little uncomfortable. Occasionally it hurts. The one day I definitely got like a little kick or a little punch because I was like, oh, like just all at once, like, yeah, real quick, and it was gone. So currently I am 16 weeks and 6 days. Tomorrow will be 17 weeks and I've been taking lots of naps. Baby is between the size of an avocado to a pear at this point. Now I know how it feels to feel the baby moving. I'm hungry for everything. I went from not being able to eat anything to literally needing to eat everything that I see, like one of everything on the menu. Obsessed with Buffalo Ranch Doritos right now. We got our announcement pictures done and yesterday we announced on social media that we are having a baby. So yeah, that was a lot of information. Hopefully it proved useful for somebody or at least interesting and entertaining. A couple things real quick that I didn't mention, that I forgot to mention throughout this video was we are not finding out the gender of the baby. I know a lot of people have already asked and will be asking. We are not only keeping it a surprise from everyone else, we are letting it be a surprise for us. So we are not going to find out the gender of the baby until baby is in our arms. So we're doing everything gender neutral. We're doing a lot of like sage greens and like neutral colors for the nursery and for clothes. My due date is August 8th, which is super fun. I feel like I should have said this in the beginning of the video, but my due date is August 8th. Dylan's birthday is August 5th. And my birthday is August 16th. It's also a full moon on August 9th, and I would have my baby on a full moon, being the woo-woo crystal moon girly that I am. So we shall see. One of us might end up with a birthday twin. we're gonna have a whole household of Leos, which is a lot of fire energy in one house. So pray for me. I think that is everything I wanted to cover in this video. Hopefully it didn't end up being too long, and we are going to get back to some regularly scheduled like day in my life type of vlogs where I can actually talk about pregnancy now and show you guys what my real day-to-day life is looking like. Like I said before, I was partially hiding the pregnancy and partially I just did not feel up for doing anything or making content. Like I was just fighting for my life the last few months, and now I feel like a normal person mostly. So yeah, we'll get back to some regular day in my life kind of vlogs, and after my second trimester I'll update you guys about all the symptoms overall for that. So if you are expecting, or if you are trying to get pregnant or planning in the future to have children, those can be videos that you can come back and look at for symptoms to expect and things about care and things like that. And anything that I say, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a nutritionist, it is all just my experience, my preferences, and everyone is entitled to choose whatever they feel is best for them and their family, period. I think with that, I'm gonna go because it's getting dark now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I am so excited to share the rest of my pregnancy and motherhood journey with you guys. So here's to a new era, a new season, and also I got a mom cut if you can't tell. So yeah. Oh, baby just moved again. Are you saying goodbye? Say bye. That's so fun. Okay, well, thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.